The melodious tone complemented the quiet night. On its own, the tone was pleasing to the ears. However, taking into considerations that it could make beasts malleable to its will, it no longer seemed harmless and beautiful. The beast slowly crept closer. Lu Zhou raised his feet slightly and stomped. The land shook. A ripple of radiance spread into the surroundings. The vicious beasts immediately scampered and disappeared into the night. You sent Hua Chongyang to the heaven worship platform so you can use this girl to take down Jing province, am I right? Lu Zhou asked. Yu Zhengai knew this was not something to boast about. How could a sect master like him use an innocent young girl for his own gains? However, those who did great things would not fret over such trivial matters. They had to make some allowances here and there. Yes, he replied. I'm curious about her identity as well, Lu Zhou said. Yu Zhengai felt slightly guilty when he remembered Miss Kong asking him not to give up. Up until now, this was his life's motto. He had experienced and endured many hardships growing up. The Wuqin migrated due to the war and were wiped out because of it. He witnessed the deaths of his brothers but was powerless to do anything. He was sold to Lu Lan by traffickers as a manual laborer. He was treated as a plaything by the aristocrats who sliced his body until he bled to death. Not giving up was the only thing that kept him going to this day. And yet, he intended to use Miss Conk? How could he not feel guilty or regretful? In the end, he said, 6 months. 6 months are all I need. Do you resent your master because he tried to use you to attain the 9-leaf stage? Lu Zhou asked again. This question made Yu Zhengai fall silent. He was thinking of an answer. Matters were complicated. Many details had already been lost in the sands of time. After thinking about it for some time, he said, Wuqin cultivators can only die thrice. To tell you the truth, I've already died twice. He sounded calm when he said this as though it was nothing important. Lu Zhou's gaze fell on Yu Zhengai along with the moonlight. He could hardly imagine this was the first disciple he recruited. He vaguely remembered that Yu Zhengai joined hardships he endured. He had a single goal, and that was to keep getting stronger. He asked, confused, was the first time in Lu Lan? Yu Zhengai nodded. The second time is by Ji Tiandao's hands? Lu Zhou mentioned his host's name instead of referring to him as Brother Ji or your master. Yu Zhengai's second death was what he was most curious about. Yu Zhengai was whisked away by Si Wuya after his death. That was how the personal diary came to be. Early in the 3rd month of the 154th year of Emperor Yongqing's reign in Great Yan, my master was meditating on his golden lotus and lost control for a time. He started spouting unintelligible words and would go on and on about the 9-leaf stage. In the middle of the month, I was sparring with second junior brother at Heaven Mountain's Phoenix Lake. My master exploded in a fit of rage and the 3 of us battled it out. The battle lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. We moved north from Heaven Mountain's Phoenix Lake, passed by Cloud Rage River and Scarlet Orchid Mountain. In the end, my master bested both of us, Yu Zhengai said. He paused for a moment and sighed before continuing. My master returned to the Evil Sky Pavilion after the battle while second junior brother and I recuperated there. While we rested, we had a quarrel that lasted for 3 days. Second junior brother left in anger. When Lu Zhou heard this, something stirred in him. The things Yu Zhengai was telling him could not be found in his memories. According to what Yu Shengrong said and coupled with the inferences made based on available information, Ji Tiandao had sealed all memories related to the 9-leaf stage. What did Ji Tiandao see that made him seal his memories? Lu Zhou's gaze fell on Yu Zhengai. Was the battle spontaneous? It did not make sense for 3 people to suddenly fight for no reason. Yu Zhengai shook his head, indicating he did not know the answer to this. Seeing Yu Zhengai's calm expression, Lu Zhou said, so, you died because of him. It's related but unrelated at the same time. Yu Zhengai smiled wryly and shook his head. What do you mean? Someone sneaked up on me and attacked me when I was heavily injured. It's too insignificant to mention, Yu Zhengai said. Who attacked you? Yu Zhengai shook his head. Thank you for your concern, Senior Lu, but I must deal with my own matters. Just as well, there was no use to press Yu Zhengai about this. Lu Zhou decided to let him do what he wanted. He had gained a rough understanding of the events in the past. Yu Zhengai had spoken about this easily and in simple terms. However, nobody knew just how many hardships he had to endure. Yu Zhengai's temper and character meant that he did not like to grumble or bow his head at another person. This was the kind of person he had been since young. Lu Zhou was surprised by Yu Zhengai's actions today. It was clear Yu Zhengai truly wanted to rule the world. After thinking about this for some time, he placed his hands on his back and turned around, walking to the edge of the forest. He did not answer him directly. Senior Lu, Yu Zhengai was perplexed. Although I'm an old friend of your master, I cannot make decisions on his behalf. Yu Zhengai stood up and said, in that case, please pass on the message for me. Senior Lu, Lu Zhou stopped walking. Without turning back, he said in a deep voice, know your place. Yu Zhengai was stunned. Yu Zhengai was only a disciple. Was this the attitude he should be assuming while talking to his master? How dare he ask a senior to pass on his message? When Lu Zhou arrived at the place where the battle took place a few moments ago, he looked at the moon. The sound of the flute had stopped. Shen Lengshu emerged from the hole in the wall. Against the moonlight, he bent his back and nodded as he spoke. You have some shocking techniques, Senior Lu. It's truly a sight to behold. Lu Zhou glanced at the bootlicker and said, Shen Lengshu. Shen Lengshu was overjoyed as he said, I didn't expect you to know me, Senior Lu. I'm overwhelmed by this favor. At the same time, he felt pleased with himself. Being at the top of the whitelist was not without its perks. Huang Shiji was an 8-leaf expert, and yet, Senior Lu did not recognize him. He could not help but feel proud when he thought about this. Have you joined to Peng Lai sect? Lu Zhou asked. No. Sheng Lengshu said with a bow, I've joined the Koryang sect. I was escorting old Senior Huang to deliver the survival pills. You should give more thought to what you should and shouldn't do, Lu Zhou said. Shen Lengshu found these words vaguely familiar. Suddenly, he cried out, Old Senior Ji has said that same thing before. Oh, if only old Senior Ji is as approachable as you, Senior Lu, Shen Lengshu said. At this moment, under the moonlight, Huang Shiji, Miss Conk, Si Wuya, and Hua Chongyang appeared near the hole in the wall. Lu Zhou noticed that Miss Conk was holding a short flute. She seemed to like it very much. Yu Zhengai emerged from the forest as well at this time. He walked forward with the moon behind him. Everyone's eyes darted between the 9-leaf expert and the 8-leaf expert. Lu Zhou did not look at him. Approachable? Yeah, as Senior Lu, eh? Your face. Shen Lengshu was rendered speechless as he witnessed a shocking scene. Under the moonlight, there seemed to be a slight distortion on Lu Zhou's face. Lu Zhou cancelled the effects of the appearance alteration card. There was a brief flash of light before the black-clad white-haired and slender appearance of a teacher with a stern aura appeared before everyone. Shen Lengshu staggered backward. His eyes were full of fear. Old, SS Senior G? Shen Lengshu was stunned. How did his appearance change? What's this? What happened? Si Wuya shuddered as he looked at Lu Zhou. It was not surprising if the other could not recognize Lu Zhou, but it was impossible for him not to recognize his master. How else could it be but his master standing in front of him? He stammered in a hoarse voice with an incredulous expression on his face, Ma. Master? In hindsight, everything was clear. After all, how could there be so many 9-leaf elites showing up all of a sudden? Who else could easily use the Celestial Master's sect's talismans? He should have realized this sooner and could not help but lament his stupidity. In fact, the thought that Senior Lu was his master did cross his mind for a fleeting moment, but he quickly dismissed that thought since the old man did not resemble his master at all. Huang Shijia, who was in shock, quickly bowed. Brother Ji, it's you. Well met. You changed. Conk smiled. Hua Chongyang's reaction was similar to Shen Lengshu. He stumbled back and fell on his butt. He was inwardly beating himself for bringing a wolf into the sheep's den earlier. Even worse, now he found out he had brought the patriarch of the evil sky pavilion here? What was happening? Everyone was stunned. They felt as though they were having a mental breakdown. Lu Zhou could tell he had reverted to his true appearance. His beard had grown longer. He did not pay attention to everyone's shocked expressions. He only said indifferently, it's only an insignificant skill. Out of everyone present, the person who was most shocked was none other than Yu Zhengai, who was standing behind Lu Zhou. His eyes widened in shock and he felt as though he had been slapped a few times. His eyelids twitched uncontrollably. He asked in a tentative and respectful tone, Master, it's you? A hint of reluctance and incredulity could be heard in his voice as well. Before Lu Zhou replied, he turned tail and ran without saying another word. I should run. Swoosh. Yu Zhengai sped toward the forest. It was exhausting to run without primal chi. He was physically tired, but more than that, he was mentally tired. To think that old geezer even knows how to alter his appearance. Why didn't I think of that? He vanished among the trees in just a blink of an eye. The others were dumbfounded. Hua Chongyang and his subordinates were stunned as well. Was this still their majestic and impressive sect master? Everything happened too quickly. The others could not keep up with the turn of events. Lu Zhou did not pursue Yu Zhengai. Instead, he beckoned at Miss Conk. Conk, the song. Miss Conk seemed to enjoy the feeling of being useful. She brought the flute to her lips at once. The melodious and familiar tune filled the air. Sound was, naturally, faster than a human running. Without his cultivation base, Yu Zhengai could not have outrun sound even though his physique was superior to ordinary humans. Deep within the dark forest, many pairs of glowing green eyes appeared. Yu Zhengai immediately stopped in his tracks. Even without his primal chi and cultivation base, he did not think much of these vicious beasts. He said in a deep voice, get lost. Some of the weaker beasts did not dare to approach him. On the contrary, the strongest beasts continued to advance on him. Beasts were beasts, after all. In their eyes, humans were one of the most delicious food in the world. The beasts pounced at Yu Zhengai. Boom, boom, boom. Yu Zhengai swung his fists wildly as fought the wild beasts. Lu Zhou and the others heard the sounds of fighting from the forest. However, he did not seem bothered by it. He looked at everyone and said, he deserves it. Shen Lengshu was close to tears. He prostrated himself on the ground at once and said, Old Senior Ji. You, why do you have to do this? This was not funny at all. Shen Lengshu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was in much pain. If old Senior Ji could alter his appearance, why did he spend so much effort to memorize the appearances of the features of the members of the Evil Sky Pavilion? How meaningless. You're moved? Lu Zhou looked down at Shen Lengshu. How could Shen Lengshu not be moved? He was so moved that he nearly cried. Smack, smack, Shen Lengshu began to slap himself. The others sighed inwardly at the sight. This served as a reminder for them not to judge someone by their appearances in the future. Meanwhile, the melodious sound of the flute did not stop. The moonlight was getting brighter. Si Wuya glanced at the dark and thick forest. He suppressed the shock in his heart and said, Master, I'm worried eldest senior brother's life will be in danger if we don't rescue him soon. It doesn't matter. Lu Zhou shook his head. You underestimate him. Inwardly, he thought to himself, he's tougher than a bull when he fought me earlier. If Yu Zhengai could not even withstand the attacks of these wild beasts, it would be the biggest joke ever. Si Wuya gulped before he said, Master, you could have just come if you have business with him. Why? Lu Zhou felt it was a waste of time to answer this question. The answer was obvious. If he did not alter his appearance, Yu Zhengai would have run off at the get-go before he even came knocking. If he could meet Yu Zhengai, how was he supposed to capture him? Si Wuya realized his question was redundant, therefore, he no longer asked. Lu Zhou raised his hand and said, Conk. Oh, Conk stopped playing. Lu Zhou gave Conk an admiring look. It was a shame this young girl could not control her own talents. However, there was no rush. He could slowly nurture her if she decided to cultivate in the future. If she's someone the Taishu Academy and Hangzhou branch want as a disciple, should I accept her as my disciple as well? Prior to this, Lu Zhou had never thought about accepting any more disciples. However, now that he thought about it, it did not seem like a bad idea. At this moment, Huang Shiji cupped his fists and said, I didn't expect this young girl to be this gifted. She'll certainly become someone great if she's taught well in the future. Huang Shiji thought about the 9 disciples of the Evil Sky Pavilion. They were already outrageously talented. Now, another genius was likely to join the Evil Sky Pavilion. He lamented the unfairness of the heavens and wondered when the Peng Lai sect be graced with some quality disciples. Nevertheless, he could only grumble inwardly. How would he dare to verbalize his thoughts? Lu Zhou looked at Conk with a satisfied expression. In any case, this matter was not important now. He had to deal with the matter at hand first. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of fighting resonated from the forest before it abruptly stopped. Lu Zhou looked at Si Wuya and pushed with his palm out before a palm seal shot toward Si Wuya. In just an instant, Si Wuya felt the mantra on him had been lifted. Overjoyed, he said, Thank you, Master. He rose to his feet immediately, preparing to help Yu Zhengai. Wait, Master, do you remember what I've said? Lu Zhou asked. I do. In that case, have no regrets. I won't. Si Wuya bowed at Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou waved his sleeve. Si Wuya understood what Lu Zhou meant. He turned around and flew into the forest. In truth, Lu Zhou had long known the decision Si Wuya would make. At the end of the day, as their master, he would have to let them go out to the world and learn on their own. Children needed to be given the independence to explore once they come of age. What would the consequences be? Nobody knew. Whether they would succeed or fail, it was all a part of life. Shortly after, Si Wuya returned with Yu Zhengai on his back. Yu Zhengai was covered in bruises and bumps, unconscious. At this moment, Lu Zhou looked at Yu Zhengai. Name, Yu Zhengai. Identity, Wuqin, Human Realm, Nascent Divinity Tribulation Realm. If it were not for the appearance alteration card, it would have been practically impossible for him to meet Yu Zhengai, judging by how quickly he had run earlier. Everyone sighed in relief. Compared to an unfamiliar 9-leaf expert who appeared out of nowhere, the disciples of the Nether sect and Peng Lai sect preferred to face Ji Tiandao. After all, he was the master of the sect master of the Nether sect master. This meant, in a way, he was in the same camp, right? Lu Zhou brought Conk back into the Great Hall through the hole in the wall. The others followed. Hua Chongyang patted Shen Lengshu's shoulders and said, Are you coming? Shen Lengshu said after looking up, Go on ahead. I'll slap myself a few more times to hammer it into my memories. Suit yourself. Hua Chongyang felt regretful and helpless as well. If it were not for him, the old senior would not be here at all. However, at this juncture, there was no other way but to plow on. Hua Chongyang entered the Great Hall. Si Wuya was still carrying Yu Zhengai as he said, Master, eldest senior brother is injured. I'll take him back. Lu Zhou extended a palm. A palm seal struck him. Si Wuya, initially, thought his master intended to strike him. However, after a while, he discovered his master had merely lifted the mantra that suppressed Yu Zhenggai's cultivation base. Thank you, master. Si Wuya left the Great Hall through the main entrance with Yu Zhengai on his back and headed to the resting room. Inside the room, Si Wuya tossed Yu Zhengai on the bed. He said with a sigh, I've already told you that master isn't a simple character. But you wouldn't listen. As he spoke, he flipped his palm and channeled some of his primal qi into Yu Zhenggai's body. Si Wuya continued to say, you should be grateful that master is the one who showed up today. If it were some other nine-leaf cultivator, do you think he would have been satisfied with Jing province alone? After channeling his primal qi into Yu Zhenggai's extraordinary 8 meridians, Si Wuya was baffled. There are no internal injuries? Forget it, you aren't so cowardly back then. Even the young lady's tune could subdue you. Then, he said with a sigh, here lies the great sect master of the Nether sect. After sensing Yu Zhenggai's condition had stabilized, Si Wuya rose to his feet and left the room, closing the door behind him. The room was plunged into darkness immediately. Yu Zhenggai's eyes snapped open immediately in the darkness and he sat up straight. His heart was thumping wildly in his chest. He stood up and walked to the door. Then, he fell to the ground and tried to peek through the narrow slit before he patted his chest. Soon after, he returned to the bed and sat down slowly with a soft sigh. I didn't want to do this as well. He tried to circulate the primal qi inside his Dantian's sea of qi. He was surprised and puzzled to find that his cultivation base was no longer restricted. However, he was still cautious and did not recklessly circulate his primal qi. The 9-leaf stage was no laughing matter. Yu Zhengai laid down, acting as though he was asleep. Inside the Great Hall, Lu Zhou looked at everyone. For a long while, nobody said anything. At this moment, Si Wuya walked into the Great Hall. Greetings, master, Si Wuya said with a bow, eldest senior brother's condition has stabilized. Lu Zhou looked at Si Wuya. Knowing Si Wuya had made up his mind, he asked again, you're determined to take down Jing province? Si Wuya fell to his knees immediately. Master. Currently, Jing province city is an impregnable fortress. Eldest senior brother is at his wit's end. I proposed we lay siege on the city with vicious beasts. At this juncture, everyone glanced at Miss Kong who was seated at the side. That's a good idea, but do you know how much primal qi and how high one's cultivation base are needed to control these beasts? Kong isn't a cultivator. Kong, although Si Wuya had guessed this young lady was the person who understood the tongue of beasts, he was not aware that she was not a cultivator. It was not enough for her to know the tongue of beasts. When the beasts fought, they could be easily frightened by powerful cultivators if nobody spurred them on. He looked at Kong with a slightly shocked expression. She isn't a cultivator? Then, he shook his head and said with a sigh, in that case, we can only think of another way. Wen Shu can't be easily dealt with, Lu Zhou said. Naturally, Si Wuya knew Wen Shu was not a simple character whom they could easily defeat. At this moment, Huang Shiji cupped his fists and said, I sympathize with Sect Master Yu. The Peng Lai sect is willing to lend a helping hand to the Nether sect. Lu Zhou looked at Huang Shiji. Huang Shiji was startled. I'm not asking for anything in return. I'm purely helping a friend. Nobody believed him. However, Lu Zhou replied, all right, Huang Shiji. Lu Zhou stood up, looked at the night scene, and said, Si Wuya. Yes, master. Lu Zhou infused some primal qi into his voice and said loudly, I'll give him 6 months. After 6 months, whether he succeeds or fails, he has to be brought to me, dead or alive. Yes, master. Ding. Discipline Yu Zhengai. Reward, 200 merit points. Based on this, it was obvious Yu Zhengai was only feigning unconsciousness. In fact, Lu Zhou had no plans of dragging Yu Zhengai back to the mountain with him this time. The Nether sect was ready to carry out their plan. Yu Zhengai was too far into his quest to conquer the divine capital to turn back now. Moreover, Si Wuya had also made his choice. As their master, he had to be reasonable. As for the matters between master and disciples, he decided to leave it at the back of his mind for now. Rascal, why are you playing dead for when I punched you so softly? Lu Zhou raised a hand and said, Conk. Conk slid off her chair and nimbly walked to Lu Zhou's side. I want to take you back to the evil sky pavilion. Will you come with me? Upon hearing this, Si Wuya was shocked. He asked, Master, are you accepting another disciple? It had been more than 5 years. It had been a long time since Ji Tiandao last accepted a disciple. He did not expect his master to accept a disciple now. If the evil sky pavilion opened its doors, throngs of people would swarm there. Who knows? Lu Zhou said ambiguously. When Huang Shiji and the others saw that Lu Zhou was leaving, they stood up. Master, it's getting late. Why don't you spend a night here and leave tomorrow? Si Wuya asked. Ding. Disciplined Yu Zhengai. Reward, 200 merit points. That rascal is truly a rascal. He doesn't want me to stay here. At this moment, Conk grabbed Lu Zhou's arm and happily, I'll go to the evil sky pavilion. Lu Zhou turned to look at Conk and said, what if we stay here for a month? Ding! Disciplined Yu Zhengai. Reward, 200 merit points. This time, Conk did not nod, but she did not reject the idea as well. Lu Zhou could see she would rather not stay here. Forget it. Lu Zhou took Conk's hand and was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. The Darknet's information network covers the lands under the heavens. Does that include the western regions where the other tribes live? Si Wuya replied confidently, I dare not boast, but it's the truth. In that case, use every resource at your disposal to locate a woman with the surname Luo, Lu Zhou said. 300 years ago, Yun Tinluo became the leader of the three sects because of her help. Yes, master, said Si Wuya with a bow. When Huang Shiji heard this, he exclaimed in shock, a woman with the surname Luo. 300 years ago? Lu Zhou looked at Huang Shiji. You've heard of her? Huang Shiji nodded and said, it just so happens that I have. Tell me what you know. If Lu Zhou had more information about the Luo woman, it would be relatively easier to look for her. Huang Shiji said, 300 years ago, I attained the 8-leaf stage out of pure luck. At that time, I knew nothing about the 8-leaf stage. Peng Lai was in turmoil and I had to take charge. Hence, I visited the three sects and asked Yun Tinluo for advice. Lu Zhou did not know Huang Shiji was acquainted with Yun Tinluo as well. Back then, the three sects were in the limelight. After becoming an 8-leaf cultivator, Yun Tinluo rose to the peak. From that moment on, the three sects officially opened their doors to recruit disciples using Yun Tinluo's name and swiftly grew stronger. It was common for the other sects to have discussions about cultivation with Yun Tinluo at the three sects. Naturally, not everyone was lucky enough to be given such a chance. At the time, Yun Tinluo mentioned a woman with the surname Luo. He said that he obtained her cultivation method and improved by leaps and bounds. Naturally, I didn't believe him wholly. After leaving the three sects, I heard there truly was such a person. She has one special ability. Huang Shiji said. What is it? Si Wuya said. The more information they could glean about, it would make their search easier. She's gifted in tunes. Huang Shiji said solemnly, I had a wonderful conversation with Yun Tinluo. I couldn't get the woman he mentioned out of my mind ever since. Hence, I ordered my Peng Lai sect disciples to look for her. Then, I heard rumors that she is gifted in tune. She frequently sits at the seashore while playing the zither. Someone once saw the fish and beasts of the sea responding to her music as they leapt around happily. The others were in wonder. Lu Zhou glanced at Miss Conk. Was this trait not similar to Miss Conk? He said, Conk has the same talent as well, but it's not surprising. There are members of the other tribes in the west who know the tongue of beasts. Huang Shiji turned and looked at Conk as he said, then a tidal wave washed over the shore. The Luo woman disappeared with the waves. I reckon she's dead now. However, it was easy for a powerful cultivator to walk on air or the waves. How could she drown? Si Wuya asked. Anything else? The Luo woman is legendary, but she keeps a low profile. I don't know anything else about her apart from that, Huang Shijia said. What about her name? I don't know. The others sighed helplessly. Hua Chongyang said, indeed, she resembles Miss Conk. Although Conk seemed to have only understood half of the conversation, she nodded and said. Yes, one of them was a legendary figure 300 years ago, the other was a 16-years-old young lady in her prime. Alas, there was a high chance the former was gone now. Huang Shiji said, this young girl is talented. If she starts cultivating, I'm sure she has a bright future ahead of her. Similarly, Lu Zhou felt this young girl had great potential as well. Si Wuya bowed at Lu Zhou and said, Master, I'll look for this Luo woman with all the. Whether she's alive or dead, I'll give you an explanation. All right, Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded in satisfaction. It was getting late. It was time for him to leave. Just when he was about to turn around, Huang Shiji seemed to hesitate over speaking up. In the end, he stepped forward and called, Brother Ji, wait up. What is it? If you have the time, will you visit Peng Lai as a guest? Huang Shiji asked. It had been a long time since he had visited Peng Lai Island. Peng Lai Island had always been referred to as a great island. The place derived its glory from the throngs of talented cultivators they produced over the years. Unfortunately, Lu Zhou still had many matters to attend to and did not have much strength or energy to spare. Hence, he said, the Peng Lai sect rarely concerns themselves with worldly affairs. You, the master of the island, actually came all to Jing province. Are you trying to say the little island of Peng Lai isn't enough to satisfy you anymore? Huang Shiji was taken aback. He said at once, we have no choice. Truly, we don't. Nothing came for free in this world, after all. Lu Zhou waved his hand and said, play your role well. Don't covet what's not yours. Huang Shiji dared not retort. He said at once, "Thank you for your teaching, Brother Ji." The other Peng Lai sect disciples bowed, "Thank you for your teaching." Old Senior Ji, who would dare to speak against a 9-leaf cultivator? Si Wuya was relieved. Ever since Huang Shiji appeared, he was worried the most about people being greedy and covetous. What if his eldest senior brother could not satisfy their demands? However, with his master's words, it would serve as a deterrence. No matter how ambitious they were, they still had to act restrained. After stepping out of the Great Hall, Lu Zhou surveyed his surroundings. Si Wuya followed him out and said, "It's only a branch. The environment leaves much to desire." "It's alright. If the situation permits, I'll come again," Lu Zhou said. Ding! Disciplined Yu Zhengai. Reward, 200 merit points. "You're always welcome here, Master," Si Wuya replied. Ding! Disciplined Yu Zhengai. Reward, 200 merit points. They made small talk for a moment before Lu Zhou decided to live. He summoned Bai-in. Conk and Lu Zhou leapt onto Wizard's back and they flew away. The members of the Nether sect and Peng Lai sect sighed in relief. Si Wuya wiped the sweat off his face as well. Hua Chongyang fell to his knees at once. "Mr. Seventh, please punish me severely for my incompetence. I won't feel at ease if the punishment isn't harsh." Si Wuya sighed, shook his head, and said, "Punishment is a must, but not now. The Battle of Jing Province is about to begin. Atone your sins with merits." Hua Chongyang said, "I will do my best." Si Wuya looked at Huang Shiji. "Senior Huang, you must be tired. Why don't you spend the night here in the branch?" "It's nothing." Huang Shiji led his disciples and left. When everyone had left, Si Wuya made his way to Yu Zhengai's room. A short while later, he stood outside the room and called out, "Eldest senior brother, Master has left." It was quiet. There was no reply from the room. "Eldest senior brother?" No reply. "Master has left, honest." Si Wuya found this strange. He found no issues when he examined his eldest senior brother's body with his primal chi moments ago. After his master unsealed his cultivation base, he should have been awake by now with his recuperating abilities. While he felt puzzled, there was a voice rang from up above. "Tell Yu Zhengai that I'll remember his actions of using the evil Sky Pavilion's name." Ding! Disciplined Yu Zhengai. Reward, 500 merit points. Si Wuya shuddered. He turned around at once. He looked up and saw Wizard hovering in the skies. "Yes, Master." Conk was seated before Lu Zhou on Wizard's back. His master's movements were truly unpredictable. Who would be able to figure out his thoughts? When Si Wuya looked up again, Wizard had already vanished in the horizons. Then, he looked at his eldest senior brother's room that was as silent as a graveyard. He gave it some thought before saying, "Looks like eldest senior brother is seriously wounded." After saying this, he left. The room was completely dark and silent. Yu Zhengai opened his eyes after Si Wuya left. He looked at the ceiling, continued to sleep. Early the next morning, Si Wuya stood outside the room again. He bowed and said, "Eldest senior brother." There were still no movements. "Okay, this is going too far." Si Wuya sigh, "Eldest senior brother. I've come up with a good plan to take down Jing Province in 7 days." Slam! The door was pushed open by a surge of primal chi. Yu Zhengai walked out with his hands on his back. "Eldest senior brother, did you rest well yesterday? I had a long dream. I don't feel comfortable." Yu Zhengai stretched his limb. "A dream?" Si Wuya understood and said, "You've been stretching yourself thin these days, eldest senior brother. Why don't you leave the management of the sect to me for a couple of days and concentrate on resting?" "That's a sound idea. Thank you, wise brother." Yu Zhengai raised a hand and sent a palm seal into the air. From the nearby stable, Kui Niu came sprinting toward him. Yu Zhengai leapt onto its back and said, "See you in 2 days. Safe journey, eldest senior brother." Moo! Kui Niu mooed and left in the air. At this moment, Hua Chongyang came running over in haste. He placed a hand on his forehead. After observing for some time, he wondered, why is the sect master in such a hurry? Si Wuya ignored him and made his way to the meeting hall. The evil Sky Pavilion. Duanmu Sheng, Zhao Yu, Zhu Honggong, and Little Yuan'er surrounded Miss Conk. It seemed like they worried she was going to run away. "Master has said that we're not to frighten or bully her." Zhu Honggong smiled at Conk. One of them sighed. At his age, why did Master suddenly bring a child back? Do you think that she's his daughter born out of wedlock? Zhu Honggong muttered under his breath. Bam! Ow! Third senior brother, what was that for? Zhu Honggong asked. Do you have a death wish, talking trash behind Master's back like that? Duanmu Sheng looked solemn. You're right, third senior brother. Zhao Yu moved in front of Conk and waved at her. With a faint smile, she asked, "What's your name?" Company. Conk. She held a flute in one hand and a conch in the other. Her real name is Conk? Zhu Honggong asked with a smile. Little Yuan'er leapt to Conk's side and compared their heights. She found they were about the same height. Then, she circled around Conk as she asked, "Where's your house?" Far, far away. Conk pointed east. Little Yuan leapt back. She pulled at the hem of Zhao Yu's clothes and said, "Senior sister. I don't think she's too bright." Conk blinked and asked in confusion, "What's not bright?" "I'm saying you're stupid." "Stupid?" The others understood now. Indeed, Conk was not too bright. Little Yuan giggled and said, "That won't be a problem. I'll protect you from now on. I'll smash the heads of anyone that bullies you." "Thank you," Conk said. "Let's go. We'll have some fun." The two young girls held hands and ran down the mountain. Duanmu Zheng, Zhao Yu, and Zhu Honggong were baffled and stunned as they stared at young girls' retreating backs. Were they not supposed to question Conk together? Why did little Yuan defect at the last minute? Inside the Eastern Pavilion, Lu Zhou sat with his back straight on the rush cushion as he looked at the points on the system dashboard. Merit points, 54,680. He had gained more than he expected from his trip to Jing Province. He merely gained several thousand merit points from killing the Taishu Academy's Zhang Renyi, the Hengshu branch's Zhang Kan, and the Jing Province's Deputy General Ning Han. The remainder of the points were basically from Yu Zhengai. Just how uncomfortable is that rascal in my presence? I should pay him a visit whenever I'm short on merit points. Lu Zhou looked at the disciplining missions on the dashboard while he was at it. The mission of disciplining his 8 disciples appeared on the dashboard. They were almost complete. He noticed there was another mission at the bottom, searching for the Luo woman. Status, in progress. What secrets does this Luo woman hold? Where is she? Since something came up in the system, this meant the person was still alive. What was left now was to slowly search for her. Lu Zhou glanced at his merit points again. He was wondering if he should buy a golden lotus leaf. It was slightly impractical for him to accumulate merit points and purchase the Thousand Realms Whirling Avatar. He noticed the reminder beside the Thousand Realms Whirling Avatar. He had to be above the 8-leaf stage to purchase it. In other words, he had to be at the 9-leaf stage. The Thousand Realms Whirling was still far away. However, it was too much of a waste to purchase a golden lotus leaf at this point. He could sprout leaves through cultivation from the 1-leaf stage to the 5-leaf stage. He noticed the reminder beside golden lotus leaf as well. He could save the merit points for a time where he would need it more. When he thought about this, Lu Zhou muttered, "Lucky draw." Ding! Spent 50 merit points. Obtained reversal card X5. A good start. However, Lu Zhou got 10 appreciation messages when he did more draws. Then, he gave up. He closed the system dashboard. He crossed his palms and placed them before his Dantian's Sea of Qi. Primal Qi flowed along his extraordinary 8 meridians. His Dantian's Sea of Qi was like the source of a fountain. Primal Qi surged and filled his Sea of Qi. The speed of his cultivation was much better than when he first transmigrated here, as he had expected. Lu Zhou cleared his mind of distracting thoughts and began cultivating. Meanwhile, Conk and little Yuan wandered around. The Eastern Pavilion is where my master lives. It's best to avoid that place if there's nothing urgent. Otherwise, you'll just be asking for a beating. That's the Southern Pavilion. Most of my senior siblings live there. Oh, there's also 3 old men and an old woman. That's the Western Pavilion where the other disciples and the others stay. The books, weapons, and cultivation methods are kept in the Western Pavilion. That's the Northern Pavilion. It serves as a warehouse and a storage room. Little Yuan explained. Behind the Northern Pavilion is the back of the mountain. Little Yuan brought Conk to the back of the mountain. At this moment, they saw Yu Shangrong leaning on the trunk of a huge tree with the longevity sword in his hand. He had a faraway gaze, clearly lost in thought, as he held a letter in his other hand. Who's that? He looks strange, Conk asked curiously. Little Yuan giggled and said, "Don't mind him. He's been on the treetop for several days now." Her voice barely faded when Yu Shangrong kept the letter in his pocket. He did a flip in midair and landed before the two of them. Little Yuan stuck her tongue out. She lowered her head and said, "Second senior brother." Yu Shangrong smiled. He caressed her head and asked, "A guest?" "Hello, I'm Conk." Conk extended her hand and smiled sweetly. "Hello, Conk, what a good name," Yu Shangrong praised. Little Yuan pulled Conk away and ran toward the back of the mountain. She said, "Second senior brother, Master brought her here. I'm supposed to show her around." "Master?" Yu Shangrong looked at Miss Conk suspiciously. Apart from looking pure and naive, there was nothing special about her. His master rarely brought people back to the mountain. Why would he do it now? Before he could ask any further questions, little Yuan and Conk had already left for the back of the mountain. Yu Shangrong did not dwell on this. He pushed away from the ground and flew toward the waist of the mountain with movements as nimble as a swallow. Meanwhile, Pan Zhang and Zhou Jifeng saw little Yuan and Conk and exchanged a look. "A newcomer. Don't point at her. Once bitten, twice shy. Let's not act rashly this time, no matter what happens." "Understood. I'll listen to you this time, Brother Zhou. We'll avoid her as best as we can." The two of them turned around and left without any hesitation. Night fell. Lu Zhou felt that his Dantian's Sea of Qi was being filled with primal Qi. Perhaps he had been raising his realm and cultivation base with the avatars before this. He had never spent any of his saved primal chi. It had only increased. There was now a substantial amount. Can I achieve a breakthrough? Lu Zhou wondered. With ample experience and skills, it seemed possible for him to attempt to sprout a leaf with this amount of primal chi. When he first transmigrated here, Lu Zhou had a hard time cultivating due to his body. He had made it this far by relying on his item cards. Now that his body had been strengthened, the speed of his cultivation was much better than before. Item cards were just item cards, after all. A fake 9-leaf elite could fool the masses for a time but not forever. With the dawn of the Lotus Severing era, people had begun to cultivate diligently. Apart from the trillions of humans, they were also the other tribesmen. Surely, there would be geniuses who would eventually attain the 9-leaf stage. If he did not have true strength, how was he going to face the future that was unfolding at a magnificent scale? Lu Zhou flipped his palm. When the resonance sounded, a miniature avatar materialized above his palm. It was a 1-leaf golden lotus nascent divinity avatar. The single leaf seemed lonely. Perhaps he too used to putting on an act. When he finally saw this one lonely leaf, he could not help but feel extremely weak. Lu Zhou shook his head. This was not the time to lament at his weakness. He focused on the golden lotus and circulated the primal chi within his Dantian sea of chi. The avatar changed. Golden rings of radiance appeared on the avatar and moved down. Sprouting a leaf was like nurturing a tree. When the nutrients and conditions were right, the plant would sprout and grow. The more leaves it had, the better the plant would grow. Sometimes, Lu Zhou wondered about the names of the 9-leaf and 10-leaf stage as recorded in the books. There were also records of the next realm after the nascent divinity realm, the mysterious heaven realm. In that case, why were there so many cultivators stuck at the 8-leaf stage, unable to move to the 9-leaf stage? What were the secrets contained in the world of the 9-leaf stage? Countless predecessors must have peeked into the realm before. However, they were all buried under the tides of history. Secluded inside the Evergreen Palace, the Emperor, Lu Jiyu, was also working hard to sprout leaves. Lu Jiyu, who commanded the Divine Capital and the Imperial Guard, was well equipped to sever his lotus and to cultivate as quickly as possible. The attendant hastened all the way into the Evergreen Palace with a platter in his hand. He passed through layers of defenses and entered the study. He kneeled on the ground and respectfully said, "Your Majesty, the Big Dipper Academy has refined another leaf-sprouting pill." Lu Jiyu, who was sitting on the floor with his legs crossed, opened his eyes and looked at the pill on the platter. One pill? It takes a long time to refine a leaf-sprouting pill. Huge amount of labor and resources are needed. President Zhou said they did their best. The attendant's voice was shaking as he spoke. There was a moment's silence. Then, Lu Jiyu raised his hand and brought the leaf-sprouting pill toward him. Here's my decree. The Big Dipper Academy is to focus all its resources on refining leaf-sprouting pills. The Imperial family will supply all materials needed. All resources, except the Imperial Guard, are to be made available to them. Understood. The attendant left the study reverently. The room was silent again. Lu Jiyu raised his hand. When his primal chi surged, an avatar appeared. The brilliant golden avatar illuminated the entire room. There was no golden lotus under the floating avatar. 4 bright golden leaves were spinning around the avatar. Lu Jiyu nodded in satisfaction. He raised his hand and sent the newly refined leaf-sprouting pill into his mouth. He clenched his fist. Boom! The avatar dispersed. The effects of the pill should be kicking in soon. He was just about to start cultivating when his eyes snapped open. He shouted, "Men!" An attendant started. He ran into the room, bumping into the walls and doors as he stumbled into the study. He looked up and saw a fuming Lu Jiyu. "Why your Majesty, the leaf-sprouting pill's effect isn't strong enough. What's the reason for this?" Lu Jiyu asked. "Your Majesty, President Zhou himself refined this pill and packaged it before sending it here. This is the best pill of all the leaf-sprouting pills," the attendant said nervously. Lu Jiyu frowned deeply, puzzled. Could this be due to my improved realm? The higher the realm, the more difficult it was to improve. This was the general rule that never changed since time immemorial. However, the effect of this pill was outrageously weak. After pondering on it, Lu Jiyu said, "You're dismissed." Understood. The attendant felt suspicious as well. However, he, naturally, dared not question the emperor. He hastily retreated from the room reverently. Outside the Big Dipper Academy, an academy disciple carried a chamber pot and walked out of the academy. Make way, make way. The academy disciple continued walking. Several disciples covered their noses and gave way. That reeks. What's wrong with you? Can't you do this when no one is around? The academy disciple looked up with a chuckle and said, I'm sorry. Why haven't I seen you before? The sour-faced disciple walked over. I'm new. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Is that so? Let's see your pesa. If this were in the past, he would not have bothered with such a lowly character. However, this was a unique time for the Big Dipper Academy. Strict measures were in place. They could not allow any careless mistakes. Everyone coming in and out of the academy had to be checked. Sure, the academy disciple with the chamber pot produced a peza and passed it to him. Mr. Ri, why does this peza look so new? Of course, it's new. After all, I've only just carved it earlier. Swoosh. A cold light glinted in the air as the separation hook drew an arc across his neck. Ming-Shi Yin covered his mouth. With the chamber pot in one hand and the corpse in the other, he scurried into an alley and vanished. A moment later, in a forest more than 10 miles from the Big Dipper Academy, Ming-Shi Yin took a pill and sniffed it. This FC King stinks. Oh, wait, it's the smell of the chamber pot. Is this the leaf sprouting pill? I wonder if I can eat it while I still have my golden lotus? The Big Dipper Academy is vast, but they sure are stingy. I've practically turned this place inside out, and this is the only one I found. He did not consume the leaf sprouting pill. Instead, he packed it away and left the forest. Meanwhile, the 10 pill refinement rooms in the Big Dipper Academy were in chaos. Hundreds of academy disciples searched the academy as they hovered in the air. A few hours later, the academy disciples gathered outside the main pill room. President, we couldn't find it. We've searched everywhere, the north, south, east, and west. We found nothing. The final pill must have been substituted and stolen by someone. Zhou Yukai frowned. His eyelids twitched out of anger. He said in a deep voice, shameless scoundrel. This is too outrageous. Calm down, President, the others cried out. Zhou Yukai suppressed the flames of rage in his heart and said, put a lid on this. We'll act as if this didn't happen. You'll obey my orders. Understood. The academy disciples bowed. Inside the Evil Sky Pavilion's eastern pavilion, Lu Zhou glanced at the descending radiant circles. He could feel that his avatar was getting stronger. Finally, whiz! Under his coaxing, a corner of the avatar's golden lotus sprouted a new leaf. The new leaf shone with a dazzling brightness. It's done. The radiance faded away. 2 leaves were now slowly spinning around the golden lotus. Technically, this was Lu Zhou's first experience of sprouting a leaf through his own effort. It felt more exciting compared to purchasing avatars. It took him half a day to accomplish this. Lu Zhou's cultivation base was now officially in the 2-leaf nascent divinity realm. Lu Zhou called up the system dashboard. He looked at the prices of the item cards. As he expected, the prices of the item cards had increased by 1,000 merit points. The current prices of the item cards meant that it was no longer practical to hoard them. Lu Zhou had the heavenly writing's extraordinary power. So long as he continued to meditate upon the heavenly writing scrolls, it could be used to replace the deadly strike card. If he had no other choice, he could still buy the deadly strike card at a high price to save his own life. He glanced at the golden lotus leaf again. 50,000. Should I buy it? Raising his own cultivation base was much more important than anything else. The problem was if he spent his merit points, the process of sprouting leaves for him in the future would be slower. Since he could sprout leaves by cultivating now, he should not give up on the wonderful opportunity. Hold it together. In the end, he did not purchase the golden lotus leaf. Lu Zhou stood up and walked away from the screen. He looked at the parchment drawing on the table. He noticed a few new islands in the oceanic region in the northeast. A slight hint of excitement stirred in him. This meant the map was giving him new clues. Peng Lai Island? Could this be where the Luo woman is? Lu Zhou remembered what the Peng Lai sect master, Huang Shiji, told him about the Luo woman. Did he withhold some information like the source of his knowledge? Was it a coincidence that Huang Shiji also became an 8-leaf expert 300 years ago? Did he also receive help from the Luo woman? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Lu Zhou opened the system dashboard to have a look. A new mission was listed under the Heavenly Writing mission column. Search for the Open Earth Scroll. Open Earth Scroll? Up until now, Lu Zhou had mastered 4 heavenly writing powers. They were the sound technique that was the power of speech, the aerial attack that was the power of muting, the mimicry technique that was the power of past lives, and the healing technique that was the power of immaterial existence. He had expected there to be a 5th power, but he did not expect it to be the Open Earth Scroll. He was still lost in his thoughts when a voice rang from outside. Greetings, Master. Lu Zhou regained his senses and emerged from the eastern pavilion with his hands on his back. When he saw Ming-Shi Yin with one knee on the ground, he said, "You're back?" Inwardly, he thought to himself, he's like a feral child. Ming-Shi Yin looked around for a moment. When he was certain his master was not going to reprimand him, he said, "I went to the Big Dipper Academy." The Big Dipper Academy? Lu Zhou was puzzled. Ming-Shi Yin presented the leaf-sprouting pill with both hands. "I found this. A leaf-sprouting pill. A treasure. I took it just for you, Master." Lu Zhou took the leaf-sprouting pill and sniffed it. The medicinal smell was strong. Then, he tossed the pill to Ming-Shi Yin and said, "You keep it." "Master, I searched the entire Big Dipper Academy. I even went through their chamber pots. No. I've misspoken. Ming-Shi Yin hurriedly put the leaf-sprouting pill away. This is to be used after one's golden lotus is severed. Understood. Lu Zhou noticed that Ming-Shi Yin's loyalty was steadily above 80%. Perhaps it was due to him not reprimanding Ming-Shi Yin for going to the Big Dipper Academy on his own accord. In any case, there was no need for Ming-Shi Yin to do that. At this moment, Yu Shangrong walked into the Eastern Pavilion and said, "Greetings, Master." "What is it?" "Jing Province is in turmoil. I'd like to have a look," Yu Shangrong said. Lu Zhou frowned slightly. He knew that Yu Shangrong and Yu Zhengai had never seen eye to eye. They had always been at odds with each other. Yu Zhengai wanted to attack Jing Province and Lu Zhou gave him 6 months to do it. What would Yu Shangrong do there with his 3-leaf cultivation base? "Old second," Lu Zhou said apathetically. "Yes, Master, I forbid you from fighting with Yu Zhengai within these 6 months." "Can you do that?" Lu Zhou asked. Ming-Shi Yin was shocked when he heard this. Since when did his master become so forgiving? It seemed like his master was being merciful toward his eldest senior brother. Yu Shangrong was taken aback. He met his master's gaze and said, "You misunderstood me, Master. Indeed, there are times where the saber and sword will exchange blows, but sometimes they can be in sync as well." Ming-Shi Yin. Quote? Lu Zhou studied Yu Shangrong's face, gauging his reaction. He noticed that Yu Shangrong was still holding onto the diary. He roughly understood what was happening. Then, he said, "What about your 3-leaf cultivation base?" Yu Shangrong straightened his back and said in a nonchalantly confident tone, "With my sword in hand. I have nothing to fear." Lu Zhou felt speechless. It seemed impossible for him to change Yu Shangrong's temperament. In the end, he calmly said, "In that case, you should go." "Thank you, Master. If there's a threat to you, you should prioritize your life," Lu Zhou said. "I've met countless dangers throughout my life. My enemies are the only ones who would choose to preserve their lives," Yu Shangrong said. Quote. Lu Zhou frowned slightly. Yu Shangrong sensed something was amiss with the atmosphere. Hence, he bowed slightly and said in an acquiescing tone, "I'll remember your words." Ding! Disciplined Yu Shangrong. Reward, 200 merit points. He won't listen to me if I talk to him normally. I'll have to put on a stern expression every single time. Go, then. Yu Shangrong nodded. He turned around and left the Eastern Pavilion. Second senior brother. Ming-Shi Yin called out as he ran after Yu Shangrong. "What's the matter?" Yu Shangrong stopped in his tracks and looked at Ming-Shi Yin in confusion. A leaf-sprouting pill. Ming-Shi Yin presented the pill with both hands. He wanted to subtly get into his second senior brother's good books. Yu Shangrong looked at the pill indifferently before he said with a smile, "You should keep such a precious item for yourself." After he finished speaking, he flew up and descended the mountain with movements as light as willow and vanished in a blink of an eye. Ming-Shi Yin was still holding the leaf-sprouting pill in his hands as he muttered under his breath, "Is this thing worthless? Did I go through all that trouble for nothing?" Mr. Fourth? Zhou Jifeng walked over to have a look. "Just spit it out. Nobody wants the pill?" Zhou Jifeng was practically drooling. "You want it? Thank you, Mr. Fourth." Zhou Jifeng hastily bowed. "You're out of your mind. When did I say I'll give it to you?" Ming-Shi Yin put the leaf-sprouting pill away. Zhou Jifeng. Quote. Ming-Shi Yin did not return to the Eastern Pavilion. He decided to return to the Southern Pavilion to rest. It was at this moment he saw little Yuan'er and Conk walking toward him. The two girls were merrily chatting away. A newcomer? Ming-Shi Yin walked up to them. He greeted little Yuan'er, little junior sister. Little Yuan'er saw what he was holding and said, "Fourth senior brother? Did you bring some delicious snacks for me?" Conk merely smiled at him. "This is Conk," little Yuan'er replied. "Conk?" Ming-Shi Yin felt shocked. He circled Conk with a smile and sized her up. Nobody knew what was going through his mind. "Fourth senior brother, what's this?" "A leaf-sprouting pill," Ming-Shi Yin nonchalantly replied. "Let me see it." Ming-Shi Yin passed the leaf-sprouting pill to little Yuan'er. He stood at the side and observed Conk. Little Yuan'er opened the bag and took it out to have a look. The sparkling and translucent leaf-sprouting pill was aromatic. This was little Yuan'er and Conk's first time seeing a leaf-sprouting pill. They were, naturally, curious. Conk was clearly attracted by the pearl-like leaf-sprouting pill. Here, little Yuan'er placed the leaf-sprouting pill in Conk's hand. Conk received it carefully and held it against the sunlight. The two girls continued whispering to each other. "Can this be eaten? It's something to be eaten. Like sweets." Little Yuan'er was admiring the leaf-sprouting pill. "Oh," Conk looked at the candy-like translucent leaf-sprouting pill as an urge to eat it rose in her heart. There was no child that could resist the allure of sweets, after all. She raised her hand and placed the leaf-sprouting pill into her mouth. It melted instantly. Ming-Shi Yin walked over at this moment. When he saw her clean and empty palm, he said in confusion, "Where's my leaf-sprouting pill?" I ate it, Conk replied innocently. Huh? It's sweet and salty, and hot. After saying this, Conk shut her eyes and fell to the side. Mingxi Yin. Quote question mark quote. After a cultivator had severed their golden lotus and consumed a leaf-sprouting pill, the pill would stimulate their Dantian sea of qi to produce large amounts of primal qi to raise their cultivation base and stimulate the growth of a new leaf. The leaf-sprouting pills were difficult to refine, and the materials needed to refine them were rare. The only lab rats used during the early stages of the pill's development were cultivators who had entered the nascent divinity realm. Although this was Mingxi Yin's first time seeing a leaf-sprouting pill, his common sense told him that ordinary people should not eat this pill. Otherwise, the effects would be adverse. As soon as he saw Conk falling, he quickly extended his hand and sent a surge of energy to protect her. Then, with his other hand, he quickly sealed her meridian points with rapid taps. Fourth senior brother, what's happening to Conk? Little Yuan'er seemed slightly anxious now that she discovered something was amiss. Initially, Mingxi Yin wanted to reprimand little Yuan'er. However, he did not have the heart to do it when he saw her expression. Bring her into the room. Mingxi Yin and little Yuan'er quickly brought Conk into little Yuan'er's room in the southern pavilion. Little Yuan'er was beside herself with worry. She asked, is she going to be alright? Mingxi Yin could not guarantee that, so he only said, calm down. He pushed his primal qi forward. An energy seal supported Conk. He channeled his qi through his palm and sent it into her extraordinary 8 meridians and into her internal organs. He could sense the intense surging of the medicinal effect in her body. He was shocked to discover it was growing more and more intense. It was no wonder she had fainted, since she was unable to withstand it. She's immortal, Mingxi Yin exclaimed in shock. If she had the slightest bit of cultivation base, he could have helped her by routing the primal qi from the pill into her Dantian sea of qi and help her break through to avert the danger. However, since she was immortal, the pill's effect had nowhere to go and was ricocheting around her internal organs. He knew this could not go on. Medicine was 3 parts poison. Moreover, even cultivators would be in agony after consuming this pill. One had to know cultivators had to endure harsh body tempering processes. Their extraordinary 8 meridians had been tempered as well. A grand cultivator in the nascent divinity tribulation realm was much more powerful in terms of physical strength even without help from their primal qi. Without hesitation, Mingxi Yin kept channeling his primal qi. Mingxi Yin sensed that the pill's effects were moving toward her Dantian sea of qi. Her life would be in danger if this went on. He had to stop this. Mingxi Yin dared not let his guard down. He used his primal qi to stop the pill's effects inside her extraordinary 8 meridians. He blocked the entrance to her Dantian sea of qi. At this moment, Conk grunted. Blood trickled out from the edge of her lips. Little Yuan'er started in shock. She said hastily, 4th senior brother, I'll go get master. I'll go get master. Mingxi Yin did not stop her. He focused on protecting Conk. Little Yuan'er ran out of the room. Mingxi Yin did everything in his ability. Saving someone was much more difficult than killing someone, especially when it was something as unexpected as what he was dealing with now. Soon enough, his forehead was drenched in sweat. Soon enough, Lu Zhou arrived outside the southern pavilion. The female cultivators around bowed at him. Bam! Lu Zhou waved his arm. A blast of energy opened the door, and he entered the room. Master, Mingxi Yin looked sheepish. I didn't intentionally do this. She was too quick. Don't worry, she'll be fine soon. Lu Zhou looked at Conk. Her condition did not seem promising. A pained expression could be seen on her face, and there were bloodstains on the edge of her lips as well. Most importantly, white fumes were rising from her body. These signs showed that Conk's outlook was not good. Move aside. Understood. Mingxi Yin moved to the side at once. He wiped his sweat away and remained bowing. He dared not move. His heart raced as he looked at Conk furtively. You better survive, young lady. Otherwise, master will beat me to death for sure. Lu Zhou walked to the bed. He placed 2 fingers on her wrist and channeled some primal qi into her body. Conk's extraordinary 8 meridians were in a mess. The pill's effects were restless and impacted her Dantian sea of qi. Without experiencing body tempering beforehand, mortals had no place to store the primal qi from the pill. They would only end up imploding and dying. He raised a palm. A faint blue light shone from between his fingers. To visit many places without having to move, reaping many benefits. This was the 4th heavenly writing power, the power of immaterial existence. When the power entered Conk's body, the pill's effects were immediately nullified by Lu Zhou's power that was stronger. Lu Zhou did not use too much of his extraordinary power. He merely used a small portion of it. Healing could not be done overnight. However, as he healed her, he discovered more and more about her unique and intriguing characteristics. That can't be right. Mingxi Yin was beside himself with anxiety. He was worried something bad and unexpected might happen. He hastily pulled little Yuan'er to the side and asked softly, where did this young girl come from? Little Yuan'er honestly told him what she knew. Upon hearing Little Yuan'er's words, Ming-Shi Yin was certain Conk was immortal. He felt more at ease now. It's fine. Even if something were to happen, it won't be a big deal. At this moment, the blue light suddenly flashed blindingly bright in the room. A powerful blue lotus instantly enveloped the entire southern pavilion. Ming-Shi Yin was shocked. He looked at the light from the blue lotus on the floor. Then, he looked outside the room. Lu Zhou was standing in the center of the blue lotus. He was pressing down with both palms. The petals of the blue lotus seemed alive between his fingers. Under the sunlight, the blue lotus's radiance seemed exceptionally brilliant. A powerful surge of life energy rippled out from the southern pavilion into the surroundings like a tide. The first ones to notice this strange phenomenon were the four elders of the old age pavilion. Leng Luo, Pan Lishan, Hua Wudao, and Zuo Yushu walked out of the room. The four of them looked at the dazzling blue lotus. What's happening? I've never seen the pavilion master unleashing such a grand healing technique. I'm afraid he must have encountered a trouble. The four of them frowned slightly. Without saying another word, Leng Luo raised his palm. 100 Tribulations Insight. Leng Luo's avatar did not have a golden lotus. Even so, 100 Tribulations Insight avatar was still 100 Tribulations Insight avatar. It was not something that a 10 worlds avatar or below could compare to. He sent his avatar into the air. Elder Leng, what are you doing? Pan Lishan was puzzled. I understand now. Hua Wudao unleashed his avatar as well. Similarly, it did not have a golden lotus. His 100 Tribulations Insight avatar flew into the air. Pan Lishan shook his head. Just as well, I should be the first one to help. He joined his palms and his avatar materialized. He pushed upward and his 100 Tribulations Insight avatar flew up as well. The 300 Tribulations Insight avatars did not have golden lotuses. Zuo Yushu was shocked. You've all severed your golden lotuses? What's wrong with that? The three of them looked at Zuo Yushu. They could sympathize with Zuo Yushu. After all, she had just joined the old age pavilion. It was expected that she would not immediately sever golden lotus. An unnatural smile could be seen on Zuo Yushu's face as she said in an exhausted tone, I didn't think any of you would really sever your golden lotuses. Then, she slammed her staff on the ground. Whiz! The script seals on her staff floated out. The script seals looked like bricks that stacked on top of each other into 100 Tribulations Insight avatar. The three elders looked at it at the same time. They were inwardly amazed by it. There were many ways to form an avatar in the Confucian societies, just like the Taoist societies. However, this was an impressive method. There were advantages to using unconventional methods. One could usually catch one's opponents off guard. The downsides were the might and speed were not as great as the conventional method. They noticed that Zuo Yushu's avatar did not have a golden lotus as well. The four avatars did not have golden lotuses. The four elders exchanged glances and smiled. At the same time, they positioned their avatars so that they covered the southern pavilion before they flew toward Little Yuan'er's room. Their avatars grew, although they severed their golden lotuses and they were now smaller. 100 Tribulations Insight avatars were still an impressive sight and would strike fear into the hearts of the people who saw it. The four shining and golden giants, 3 males and 1 female, surrounded the blue lotus leaves. Power seemed to pour down from the sides like 4 waterfalls. The golden radiance and the blue lotus merged as one as they descended. In the northern pavilion and the western pavilion in the evil sky pavilion. The female cultivators who were sweeping the stairs halfway up the mountain looked up at the blue lotus and the 4 avatars. All of them stopped what they were doing to look at this impressive sight. The 4 humanoid avatars were the size of a mountain as they supported the leaves of the blue lotus. Power was leaking from 4 directions. Pan Zhang and Zhou Jifeng looked up at the 4 avatars as well. A tidal wave of power fell from the skies. What's that? Such intense vitality and primal chi. The duo had been stuck in the divine court realm for a long time. This avalanche of primal chi and life energy made their Dantian sea of chi stir. They exchanged a glance before sitting down on the ground, no longer caring about what was happening at the other end. After all, they could not be of any help. They were better off seizing this opportunity to achieve a breakthrough. Not going to form a golden lotus? Nope, both of them came to an agreement on their cultivation method. Meanwhile, Lu Zhou poured all of his heavenly writings' extraordinary power out. This was the most extraordinary power he had used to unleash the power of immaterial existence. Unlike the previous occurrences, he was now using it to save someone. Previously, it had only been used to kill, visit many places without having to move, reaping many benefits. Heavenly writings' chant swelled and rose in volume as it entered the blue lotus. Ming-Shi Yin was dumbstruck. Was his master out of his mind? Why would his master go so far as to save a young girl he barely knew? At this moment, he saw the 4 avatars around the blue lotus. The 4 elders' 100 Tribulations Insight avatars. Little Yuan'er ran out and looked at the golden flashes of energies in the skies. Primal chi and the heavenly writing's extraordinary power complemented each other. The golden and blue shone down the mountain with increasing intensity like an expanding ocean. The trees grew abundantly at the halfway point of the mountain, and the withered plants around the gazebo were revitalized. Birds and beasts chirped and roared in joy and leapt in excitement among the trees. At the foot of the mountain, even the plants were rejuvenated. The withered trees at the places where the battle with the grand shaman, Bama, had taken place were given a new lease on life. Everything was growing again. Inside the southern pavilion, Princess Yang Ning walked out of her room as she endured the uncomfortable sensation in her body. She was stunned when she saw the impressive sight, standing riveted to the spot. She widened her eyes and muttered, "Pretty." She heard Si Wuya mention that the evil sky pavilion could not be violated. He had also mentioned the evil and unclean aspects of Golden Court Mountain. However, how could she believe someone else's words without witnessing it for herself? Now that she had witnessed this, she disregarded the rumors she had heard. If she could, she wanted to throw away her status as a princess and stay here forever. Cultivators around Golden Court Mountain stopped to look at the impressive scene. The citizens of Tongza Town laid down their hoes and stopped their labor as they looked at the flashes of light in the distance. Although they could not get a clear look, the golden and blue radiances usually meant something positive. This time, it made them feel fearful but respectful at the same time. Under the support of the 4 avatars, the huge blue lotus nearly covered the entire evil sky pavilion. The 4 pavilions were filled with the blue lotus energy. "I can't hold it anymore." Hua Wudao was the first to speak. "Just a little longer," Leng Luo said encouragingly. "Who's the pavilion master trying to save anyway? Does he have to cause such a huge scene? Regardless, our objective is to help the pavilion master." The 4 of them exchanged a glance and nodded. All of their faces, without an exception, were glistening with sweat. Maintaining 100 tribulations inside Avatar for a long time was no small feat, after all. It was incredible that they could even hold out for so long. A moment later, the 4 elders began to sway on their feet. "On my count, we'll retreat together," Leng Luo said in his deep voice. It would be too much for them if they kept this up. They would be hurt. "All right." Leng Luo's avatar shifted slightly. Lu Zhou sensed movement in the skies, and he gauged his extraordinary power again. In a few short breaths, he would run out of extraordinary power. Everything hinged on this final moment. He could meditate again to replenish his extraordinary power. However, if this young girl were to die, her secrets would die with her. Whiz! The heavenly writing's power was at its maximum output at this moment. The 4 avatars retreated at the same time. As they retreated, a leaf appeared on them. They sprouted leaves. No way. They sprouted leaves at the same time. The 4 avatars sprouted leaves simultaneously. They were now in the one-leaf nascent divinity tribulation realm. What a majestic sight it was to behold. Sprouting a leaf signified that they had grown stronger again. The 4 avatars grew larger as they sprouted their leaves. From their 10-foot height, they grew to 20 feet at the same time. The 4 elders were, naturally, overjoyed. Again? Hua Wudao asked hesitantly. Since they had a breakthrough, it meant they could now keep going. However, Zuo Yushu said, "There's no need for that." She recalled her avatar from the skies and said again, "The pavilion master is stopping." The others felt it as well. If the pavilion master stopped, it was meaningless for them to continue. At the same their avatars vanished, the blue lotus faded out of sight as well. The 4 elders staggered backward. Although they had a breakthrough, it did not mean it was any less taxing on their bodies. "Let's adjust our breaths here." Similarly, Pan Zhang and Zhou Jifeng had a breakthrough as well. However, their breakthroughs were not as impressive. They were rookies among nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivators. Although they formed 100 tribulations inside avatars at the same time, and their cultivation bases were similar to the elders of the Old Age Pavilion. The actual difference between their strengths was as different as heaven and hell. The commotion of their breakthroughs was completely overshadowed by the Blue Lotus. In any case, they had gotten the help they needed and were now officially in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. Inside the room of the southern pavilion, everything was silent. Lu Zhou had done everything he could. He stroked his beard as he looked at Conk before he placed 2 fingers on her wrist. After a brief examination, he frowned deeply. Perhaps he was terrified by this huge disturbance. Mingxi Yin fell to his knees with a thud and said, "I've made a mistake. I didn't mean to harm her." When little Yuaner saw this, she raised her hands, pouted, and wiped away her tears. Lu Zhou looked at the 2 of them and reprimanded them, "Be quiet." Oh, the 2 of them shut their mouths at once. Lu Zhou did not have the time to listen to them. He sensed the extraordinary 8 meridians in Konk's body had been completely connected. Her Dantian's Sea of Qi had been activated. How's this possible? Lu Zhou thought he was hallucinating. He examined her again. After his examination, he confirmed that Konk was now a mystic enlightening realm cultivator with 5 connected meridians. He really could not figure it out. A normal cultivator would have to undergo body tempering first. Body tempering cultivated the muscles, bones, and tendons. The body had to be tempered from the inside out, including the extraordinary 8 meridians. When the conditions were right, the cultivator would enter the mystic enlightening realm. After connecting 5 meridians in the mystic enlightening realm, one's senses would be greatly sharpened. A human's body was a container. When the container's quality was raised, it would be more tolerant to the havoc wreaked by primal chi. Primal chi could be condensed into energy that protected the cultivator as they breathed and moved. This was how it was for a cultivator. Nobody could skip this step, and yet, Kong had easily entered the mystic enlightening realm. Wen Shu and his entourage were like birds startled by the mere twang of a bow, to begin with. They felt fortunate enough to have survived the Battle of Jing Province. They were all injured to varying degrees. Therefore, the sudden voice startled and frightened them. "Who's there? General Wen Shu, look out!" A green-robed swordsman with a longsword in his hands perched on a branch of a huge tree. He looked down on everyone with a lofty bearing. He said with a smile on his face, "My apologies, but you must remain here." "You are." One of them found this swordsman's appearance extremely similar to a certain legendary individual. "He's Yu Shangrong, the sword devil, Yu Shangrong," someone cried out. Wen Shu's heart sank and thumped wildly in his chest. Even in peak condition, he was merely slightly stronger than Huang Shiji. There was no way he would be a match for Yu Shangrong or Yu Zhengai. He had heard about the grand battle between the 2 8-leaf elites in Radiant Cloud Forest as well. The epic battle was well known in the cultivation world. It was clear that sword devil Yu Shangrong, whose name struck fear into the hearts of those who heard it, was as strong as Yu Zhengai. He continued staring at Yu Shangrong, who was perched on the tree warily and in trepidation. "I can't panic. I must pull myself together." In the end, he cupped his fists together and inhaled, gathering his primal chi. He said, "Your reputation precedes you, sword devil. Forgive our lack of hospitality." Yu Shangrong calmly said, "My sword never kills someone without a name. Apart from Wen Shu, the lot of you should leave. I'll give you 3 breaths to do so." The remaining 4 soldiers exchanged a glance. Wen Shu frowned. He hastily said, "Fleeing before the enemy is a death offense." The 4 soldiers were not fools. How could they deal with Yu Shangrong? Fleeing before the enemy? Aren't you doing exactly that, you old geezer? "We're sorry, General Wen." What could they do in 3 breaths? The answer was simple. They could run for their lives, of course. 4 of them did not hesitate. They turned tail and ran immediately. In just a blink of an eye, they vanished among the trees. They could not be blamed. After all, they were unaware that Yu Shangrong had severed his golden lotus. Who would not cower in fear before the 8-leaf elite, Yu Shangrong? Wen Shu furrowed his brows. His expression was dark. He suppressed the unpleasant feeling in his heart as he cupped his fists together again and said, "I heard that you're at odds with Yu Zhengai, the sect master of the Nether sect. To be honest, I've fought with him for 100 rounds earlier. If you find him now, I'm sure you'll be able to easily defeat him now." Still perched on the branch, Yu Shangrong smiled faintly and said, "It looks like you don't understand me at all." "Huh? So what if I defeat him now?" "It won't be a glorious victory," Yu Shangrong said tonelessly. Wen Shu relaxed and said, "I'm also injured." "Dear sir." Yu Shangrong lowered his arms to cut Wen Shu's words off. With the scabbard in his right hand, he tossed it up lightly and caught his longevity sword. With a push of his left hand, a blast of energy sent the scabbard flying. Bam! The scabbard was embedded into the tree. The scarlet longevity sword was raised before Yu Shangrong. "Alas, you'll have to die." After saying this, Yu Shangrong patted the sword. With movements as light as a swallow, he flew toward Wen Shu on his sword. Wen Shu's expression turned grim. He retreated at once while shooting multiple talismans from his palms. Bam! 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 Both of them started fighting. Yu Shangrong appeared calm. He held his longevity sword behind him as he walked toward his target. Wen Shu kept sending out talismans and script seals as though he was facing a great enemy. This was the sword devil, after all. This was the evil Sky Pavilion's Mr. Second, Yu Shangrong, whose every move was to kill. He was given the moniker Sword Devil for a reason. Therefore, despite being seriously wounded, how could he hold back when facing such an opponent? He had to forcibly muster all the strength he had left in him to fight for his survival. Wen Shu's eyes widened. He had been sending more and more talismans and script seals out, and yet, the Sword Devil evaded all of them and danced around his attacks, unharmed. At this moment, the Sword Devil was fast approaching him. Yu Shangrong swung the longevity sword. Bam! 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 Several talismans were parried by the longevity sword. The sword shadows were densely packed that they looked like a blur. When Wen Shu saw that the Sword Devil was finally upon him, he shouted, "Open!" A round energy seal blast rippled out into his surroundings. His 8-leaf avatar appeared and grew in size. Boom! The trees in the vicinity of a few dozen meters fell. However, after a few breaths, Wen Shu's avatar vanished. He felt the pressure had alleviated slightly. Where's the sword devil? Wen Shu looked up cautiously. He saw Yu Shengrong gracefully flip in the air above the cloud of dust that was stirred up. It seemed to him like he managed to push Yu Shengrong back. He found this hard to believe. Although he had used all his strength to attack, it should have been easy for the sword devil to destroy his avatar and kill him. It baffled him to see Yu Shengrong retreating at this moment. Meanwhile, Yu Shengrong avoided the shockwave from the 8-leaf avatar's appearance. When he landed, he advanced again at a much faster speed. Are you toying me? Wen Shu asked, incensed and offended. He kept pushing his palm out as different talismans appeared between his fingers. A faint golden light could be seen swirling around his palms. He pushed forward. Yu Shengrong tapped the ground with his feet and shot into the air. His sword hovered beside him. Densely packed energy swords appeared in the air. Sword Devil's Destiny. Countless energy swords shot toward Wen Shu. Wen Shu scoffed. Is this all the Sword Devil's got? You'll pay for underestimating your opponent. He joined his palms together. His left index finger connected with his right index finger. Then, he stomped his feet on the ground before the golden light between his fingers flashed brighter than before. This was the best opportunity to unleash abandoned wisdom. All elements were in place. The Sword Devil was above while Wen Shu was below. The angle was perfect and the timing was impeccable. Wen Shu would never give up on such a wonderful opportunity. A string of words hung above his hands, abandon wisdom. This was the most powerful technique of the Confucian societies. The energy seals formed streamlined bullets above his fingers. Then, he shot toward Yu Shengrong like a cannonball. The energy swords from the Sword Devil's Destiny collided with the energy seals of abandoned wisdom. Boom, boom, boom. The Sword Devil's Destiny could not block abandoned wisdom. Yu Shengrong's expression remained the same. He did a 180-degree flip and retreated as he unleashed his avatar. Whiz! When his avatar appeared, it made for a shocking scene. Yu Shengrong merged with his avatar. His palms joined with its palms. The 4 palms advanced against abandoned wisdom. Time seemed to slow down at this moment. It was a move that could decide the outcome of the battle in an instant, but it seemed to be taking too long. The trees fell as the 2 opponents advanced to each other. They flew upward, one pressing forward while the other retreating. Wen Shu caught a glimpse of Yu Shengrong's avatar's golden lotus before he burst into a peal of laughter. It seems like the heavens are on my side today. Who knew I'd meet the Sword Devil who has severed his golden lotus? You're seeking death. He felt invigorated and hopeful now that he had seen Yu Shengrong's lack of a golden lotus. The flames of his fury finally found an outlet. The radiance of abandoned wisdom shone between his fingers as he charged toward the 4 palms. Their energies collided. Boom! A horizontal streak of energy swept through the surroundings. Bam, 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 the huge trees around them were felled by the collision of energies. Their lines of sight were suddenly unobstructed now. Wen Shu maintained the abandoned wisdom. Yu Shengrong's 4 palms were crossed as he parried the blow. Wen Shu thought that Yu Shengrong would be heavily wounded from this, but that did not seem to be the case. Yu Shengrong was not only unharmed but he still managed to maintain his avatar. A shocked expression bloomed on his face as he looked at Yu Shengrong incredulously. 3-leaf. Why, you're just a 3-leaf cultivator. How did you block that? Why is your avatar still here? His voice was trembling when he spoke. At this moment, the duo began to descend to the ground. You know too little about avatars, Yu Shengrong said nonchalantly. He looked at Wen Shu as though Wen Shu was a dead man walking. Wen Shu felt his temper rising. He said contemptuously, so what? Even if I'm heavily wounded, I won't lose to a mere 3-leaf cultivator like. Swoosh! 3 leaves shot out at lightning speed toward Wen Shu and slashed his neck, creating a neat wound before Wen Shu even finished speaking. Both of them finally touched the ground. Wen Shu's eyes were widened as he looked at the 3 leaves incredulously. Fresh blood was constantly gushing out of his wound. At this moment, the 3 shining golden leaves returned to the longevity sword's side. Rip! 2 of the leaves suddenly split into 2. They shone with a brilliant golden light. 5 leaves circled in the air and eventually flew toward the avatar before it finally disappeared under the glaring sunlight. Yu Shengrong stood with his back against the sun. His slender figure seemed lofty and untouchable. Wen Shu could not see his expression against the glare of the sun. He could only hear Yu Shengrong say, I'm a peerless 8-leaf elite. Always have been and always will be.